Space whales? Nope, rather deal with devils. Chapter 5 Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Utter emotional devastation was the face that Sona Sitri was currently forced to wear. I showed her zero mercy in the 3 games of chess we played, and within each game, I won within the first 15 turns at most by 2 main strategies. For one, with my perks that boosted my memory and capability of carrying multiple trains of thought, I was able to track several trains of thought of the motions our pieces could go, and with the speed I was forcing the game to go, Sona didn't have enough time to sit there for a couple of minutes to think up a strategy that I couldn't break down in a rapid-fire set of motions with my chess pieces. And second, I kept a nonchalant expression as I just made conversation with Sona, which further distracted her, as she couldn't look like a poor loser and just ignore my conversation to mono-focus on the game. So by the end of the 3rd game, Sona just leaned backward in her chair to stare at the ceiling before breaking into chuckles, and she looked back down at me. Truly, your ability to run several trains of thought and maintain them is a terror. I cannot help but wonder what level you could reach if you got the Beelzebubs. Swarm magic, which is basically parallel thinking and hive mind like mind control, where the devil would take over bodies of monsters and stuff. She ruminated before shaking her head as she held out a hand. I can tell from your completely unorthodox playstyle that you aren't some kind of chess master, but your ability to quickly think and maintain those trains of thought carried you through the games. But either way, thank you for showing me where I was lacking and what I need to shore up in my chess skills. Sona spoke with surprising maturity and sportsmanship. I kinda thought she would get super salty about it, really. I shook her offered hand, and then she blushed slightly as she coughed and continued to speak. In any case, with these games done, I can tell you will do well enough with my water construct style of fighting. Now let me teach you how to summon the Sitri water and engrave your will upon it. Now I knew why she was blushing, as devil magic was many things, but subtle, orderly, and controllable weren't titles they typically bore. So when Sona went to teach me how to properly and exactly control the Sitri-based mana, she made me sit down on a large footstool and Sona practically plastered her upper body, only clad in a thin dress shirt beneath her Kuo uniform, against my bare back. I could feel Sona's handful-sized breasts pushing against my back as Sona's hands encircled the back of my own hand with her fingers curling in between my own, so she could almost puppet my body with her own mana pushing into my own body to remotely create spells via my own magic. It was like she was standing beside me as I was learning how to ride a bike, and her hands and mana were actually showing the process of how moving with the bike would keep it stable so I wouldn't fall. Or in more magical terms, her magic was welcomed into my body, and her consciousness helped guide my own efforts in controlling the Sitri magic. This intimate method of magical teaching was obscenely effective with my CYOA perks. To say nothing of how my lewd perks made this magic teaching version even more effective, as I felt her nipples harden against my back at how she realized her own magical power was growing by mingling with my own. Jake. Why is my magic growing in power, depth, and quantity when I hug you? Sona asked flatly, but I could feel her arms tighten around my chest with her legs covered in almost see-through black pantyhose coming to rest against my own legs. For a moment, I chewed on how to respond before I decided to be honest. One of my abilities is a form of advanced bedroom arts, or basically dual cultivation, as anyone who is intimate with me has their magical power increase, and the further the intimacy goes, the more and various benefits there are, I explained wryly, and she hummed and thought before pausing and thinking about what I said in more detail. Like what benefits? She said dryly, and I could feel her breath on the back of my neck, which made me so more aware of Sona's more delicate beauty compared to Rias's and even Seraphal's very overt beauty that basically screamed at everyone to look at me. I then explained the tantric battery/secondary magical core that would form within anyone I actually had sex with, and likewise how just any form of sexual contact would improve upon the magical and supernatural abilities someone had. You are literally a walking himbo. And how am I getting more powerful when all I am doing is hugging you, Jake? Sona grumbled, pinching my side coquettishly, and I decided that I needed to take the initiative at this time. I took Sona's hands within my own and gently spun her around so she would be sitting in my lap. The act only took a couple of seconds, so by the time Sona realized she was in my lap and her glasses-covered purple eyes met the blue ones, I was holding Sona by her waist and had pulled her chest flush against my own bare chest. Sona. Tell me how this isn't anything but intimate. I whispered, and she flushed, and for a moment I thought she was going to slap me or just get off me, but I saw a fire of something in her eyes that made her hazy eyes turn bright, and she completely met my eyes in a silent staring contest before one of her hands slid from my shoulder so she could steady herself and arrived at my cheek. You are my contracted magician. She whispered. You are mine. She continued biting her lips before she continued with her voice, turning more husky. Do you know how devils of old sealed such contracts for life in binding powerful magicians to themselves and sharing and mingling of their power? She whispered, and my mind floated to shows like Supernatural, but before I could answer, Sona closed her eyes, and I felt her stiff frame relax against me as her lips slightly pressed together in an obvious kiss as her head descended downwards to my own face.